Everyone assumes moving to Seattle in 2026 means easy tech jobs and endless hiking trails. While only half of that is still true, and this video breaks down whether Seattle is a good place to live right now. After helping hundreds of families buy and sell here, I'm giving you the unfiltered version: location, amenities, and real estate. By the end, you'll know which part of this decision should drive your next move. All right, so let's talk location. The good, the gloomy, and why neighborhood choice changes everything. There's a version of a normal weekday here that starts with a walk along the water before most people are even out the door. That is Seattle on a good day, and so much of life here builds from that. The city sits in a rare spot. You've got Puget Sound on one side, Lake Washington on the other, with Lake Union right in the middle of it all. That means mountains, saltwater, freshwater lakes, islands, and ski runs are all within a reasonable weekend drive. The city itself has more than 400 parks inside its limits, and that's before you even leave town for the mountains or the sound. That mix is hard to find anywhere else in the country, and it's one of the biggest reasons people fall for this place. Then summer hits, and it might be the strongest argument for living here. Mild temperatures, low humidity, and it's still light outside past 9 at night. But I need to be straight with you here. Winter is a real adjustment. People call it the big dark for a reason. From October through March, you can go stretches without seeing real sunlight, and it's not just a rainy inconvenience. Research backs this up. More than 20% of people living in the Pacific Northwest report a real dip in mood once the rain sets in. For roughly 1 in 10, it becomes something more serious, a diagnosable case of seasonal affective disorder. It's treatable, but plan for it before you move here, not after. Then there's traffic, and it hasn't gotten better. The same geography that makes the city beautiful, squeezed between water on both sides, also creates real bottlenecks. There's active construction on almost every major route into and out of downtown. I-5, 405, State Route 520, and I-90 all at once. If your commute crosses the lake every day, plan for it. All right, so hold that thought, because what's happening with home prices later on might change how you think about the timing of this move. But none of those trade-offs shape your day-to-day life as much as the biggest variable here. It's the neighborhood choice. Seattle isn't one lifestyle. A Saturday in Ballard, with its market culture and the locks, feels nothing like a Saturday in South Lake Union, which is high-rises and Amazon energy. Green Lake is park-centered and family-focused. Capitol Hill is dense, walkable, and loud in a good way. Pick the wrong one and the whole city can feel wrong, even when Seattle itself is right for you. That's exactly why I put together full podcast breakdowns on neighborhoods like Queen Anne, Ballard, Capitol Hill, with real talk on the lifestyle, the trade-offs, and the price points. They're linked down in the description, and if any of this has you leaning toward a specific area already, go watch those next. That's the trade-off of loving this city. You get the stunning parts, but you also have to get through the gray stretch. I've lived here for 30 plus years now. It's been a long time, and I've been in real estate for 15. So we've helped almost 900 families. Whatever your situation is, we can help you too. Reach out at hello@mwagnerteam.com. All right, so if you get the neighborhood right, then both sides start working in your favor once you see what's coming next for the city. Everything about how you get around this city is about to look different over the next decade, and potholes and detours are only the surface of it. The big one is sound transit. Voters approved a $54 billion light rail expansion plan with the goal of a fully connected system stretching from Tacoma up through Seattle to Everett. The finished vision calls for 116 miles of track. The agency is still working through a sizable funding gap to get all the way there, but the direction is set, and the most important piece has already been opened this year. The 2-line now runs light rail across Lake Washington for the first time, connecting Seattle straight through to Mercer Island, Bellevue, and Redmond. If you work on the east side and live in Seattle, or the other way around, that changes your commute math. Getting into one of these transit-connected neighborhoods now while the build-out is still underway is a kind of long-term equity play I'd want a buyer paying attention to. By the end, I'll point you toward a video that shows where an imbalance like this is already playing out. Now, jobs are the messier part of the picture. Amazon has cut tens of thousands of corporate positions, and Microsoft has trimmed its workforce too. The tech hiring boom that defined this city for a decade has cooled off. If you're banking on landing a tech job the moment you move here, the bet is a lot riskier than it was in 2021. That's not the whole job market. Washington's life science industry generated more than $43 billion in economic impact last year, and it's grown faster than the national average for 5 straight years. So if you're in healthcare, biotech, or research, that part of the job market still looks strong. Seattle is not cheap, and the numbers back that up. The overall cost of living here runs roughly 44 to 45% above the national average. covering everything from groceries to healthcare and transportation. Housing is the biggest piece of that math. Those costs run more than double the national benchmark, and that's the number that changes people's decisions. Washington still has no state income tax on wages and salaries, and for most people moving here, that remains a real financial advantage. But if you're a high earner, there's something new to plan around. Washington just signed a millionaire's tax into law, a 9.9% tax on a household income above $1 million a year, taking effect in 2028. It doesn't touch gains from selling real estate and affects a small fraction of households in this state. And if lobbyists against the tax have their way, it will never go into effect. Stay tuned for more on that. But if that's you, it's better to plan for it now than get surprised later. All that investment and all that tax math only help if you can find a house to buy, and for years that was the hard part. That's finally starting to change. So here's what the market looks like right now. For the first time in years, buyers in the city have real choices again instead of chasing whatever is available. That alone marks the biggest shift in the Seattle market since before the pandemic. Active listings across the region are up significantly compared to what they were just a few years ago. That's what happens after years of almost nothing being available to buy. That means inspection contingencies and financing contingencies are back. Sellers are negotiating on price and credits again, something that rarely happened during the frenzy years. Seattle's median home price is sitting in the high 800s. It's cooled a bit from its peak, but it hasn't collapsed. The city is still expensive, plain and simple. Overpriced or outdated listings can sit for 2 months or longer. The market you see in a headline usually hides 2 different markets under one number. You'll also hear people say transit expansion automatically drives up property values nearby. I'd hold off on that a little bit. Transit access can shift buyer interest and long-term demand in the area, but the property itself, its condition, its price, and the broader market still decide what a home is worth. Treat it as a long-term factor, not a guarantee. So if you're a buyer, this inventory bump means you can finally compare instead of settling. Don't rush into the first decent listing you see just because it's available. If you're a seller, presentation counts more now than it has in a long time. A dated, overpriced listing will sit and it'll cost you. A staged, sharply priced one will still move fast. So if you're thinking like an investor, the shift I'm about to walk you through is exactly the kind of gap worth watching. If you want to see where the real imbalance is, take a look at condos. It's an entirely different market than single-family homes. Inventory is up, demand is down. Condo prices across the city are running in the high 500s, down from where they were a year ago. Downtown condos are the softest part of the whole market. Listings there are sitting for over a month and a half on average. Buyers have real leverage in almost every building. But condos on your radar in this market, do your homework on the building itself, not just the unit. Ask for the resale certificate, check the reserve funds, understanding what you're buying into before you sign anything. A great price on a unit in a building with real problems isn't a great deal at all. The market hasn't felt this balance in years, and that balance rewards people who move in with a plan instead of a guess. That's what decides what you do next, whether you're buying, selling, or holding steady. So Seattle itself was never the question here. Getting the neighborhood and the timing right is what decides whether you end up loving this city or fighting it. If you're weighing whether to buy, sell, or invest here, email me directly at hello@mwagnerteam.com today. I'll give you a straight read on your specific situation. And if you've ever wondered why a house down the street sells in days while a condo 2 doors down sits for months, the video I've linked breaks down why Seattle's inventory is growing about 30 times faster than its sales. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.